Today we are going to visit some more Arizona hidden gems. The beautiful Arnett Canyon Overlook, the Pinal Townsite and Cemetery, and then some wagon tracks that have been pounded into the ground by silver ore carts. Get ready, it's gonna be a great day. First, we make our way over to the Pinal Townsite. It is a little disappointing. This here is the Pinal Townsite. There's really nothing left but some trash. So we looked around.
Look at this. Where's my... You got your camera, your phone? Look at this nail. It's an old nail.
At the old Pinal Townsite?
Yeah, and there's old bottles, broken bottles, and ceramic bits. There's nothing left of the town except the trash heaps.
Yeah, but you find that in old cans and things.
Yeah.
Now we make our way over to the wagon tracks. These are cool.
So we're here outside Superior, Arizona, and there are these wagon tracks out here that have been carved into the rocks. The Silver King mine was producing a lot of ore, and they had to transfer that ore from the mine over to the railroad to then get smelted. And they did that via ore carts. And because ore is quite heavy, and they were taking the same path every single time, they ended up creating these ruts in the rock, as well as there are little divots in the center of where the oxen or mule, whatever was pulling the carts, dug in to pull the carts forward.
I was able to find a picture of the actual ore carts with the mules attached, and you can see if you look closely at the wheels that they are dug into the rock. And since we have our resident geologist with us, here's a little geology lesson.
So there is a debate among geologists of whether or not we have entered into the geologic era, transferring from the Holocene over to the Anthropogenic. And one of the ways geologists differentiate different eras and eons is when major geologic changes happen that are reflected in the rocks. You can see things different amounts of water, different amounts of oxygen in the atmosphere, things like that. And there are a group of geologists that argue that we've entered this new Anthropomorphine because us as people are leaving our impact on the rocks that could be seen years from now. And this right here is an example of that. These wagon tracks from the mining, as well as Construction Center, where, they came through here with heavy ore carts and dug these big ruts. And if enough dirt gets slathered on top of them and compacted, and then, you get billions of years later, you have wagon tracks.
We leave the wagon tracks behind and we make our way across Queen Creek. Probably not a big deal for most folks, but for us desert dwellers, we'll take any water crossing we can get. And our camera just barely makes it under the trees. And head up to the Arnett Canyon Overlook. This is a canyon that is right up next to Picket Post Canyon and is spectacular. We stand and enjoy the view for quite a long time.
Okay, Grace, tell us what's going on here.
So you can see this cliff here that we're standing on is different than the cliff that is at the same elevation across the creek, which implies that the creek is probably a fault line. And if you look upstream and up in elevation a little bit, you see a butte that has the same kind of rock that is the cliffs that we're standing on. So that implies that the rock that we're standing on went down and the other side of the creek went up.
Cool. And what's the name of that mountain up there?
That's Picket Post Mountain.
Down in the creek, you can see there's a couple of horses and their riders. Arnett Creek.
Take off from Arnett Canyon and we head across US 60 to find the old Pinal Cemetery. This is the cemetery for historic town of Pinal, which is where we found the nail that we saw earlier, which is across Highway 60 and across the way over there with the cliffs. And this was closed in 1916 by the Forest Service and by the county or whoever else had rights to this in 1916. And that's when it was moved into town. Right as you walk into the cemetery, you find the memorial for Maddie Earp, Wyatt Earp's wife. One of the interesting things about this, we went into town and we talked to them at the Chamber of Commerce. This is not where she's actually buried. The Forest Service a few years ago, I don't know, it seemed like within the last 10 years, they had a marker up for her on her actual gravesite. And people said this was a Christian cemetery. Not only did she commit suicide, but she also was a soiled dove or a prostitute. So therefore she doesn't belong in a Christian cemetery. So they were going to dig up her body and move her. So the Forest Service removed that her tombstone. They obviously know where she's buried. And they put this memorial up in honor of her so that people wouldn't. That's when they fenced this area off. They also told me in town that they're not sure that Maddie Earp is actually buried anywhere near here because she was a suicide victim of suicide and or she took her own thing. She also so that she would have never been buried in a Christian cemetery to begin with, but we of course don't know. We walked around the rest of the cemetery. There were a lot of stones where like the paint had worn off, and so you weren't sure, is this a grave, is this not a grave? And then there were some stones that were engraved. For me, the big takeaway from all the unmarked graves are cemeteries really are for the living. So I guess that's the end of our day, and we're gonna head back to town and back to camp. So, all
Chili
right.
for dinner.
Chili for dinner. Good night. Bye. If you like our videos, please comment, subscribe, and like this one. Thanks. We'll see you next time.